Sara, the important question is, did you have Society Man in the Wood Memorial?
Obviously not. That would be nice, but unfortunately, I did not. I do know someone that used him in a bunch of exactas, though, but not with the eventual winner of that race, Resilience, and that just has to be such a slap in the face, considering the odds that he went off at and how well he did run in that race.
Well, it came out of nowhere. I mean, looking at his past performances, he had the big setup win in the slop at Aqueduct, but he didn't get an overly fast number, and he was kind of bet that day anyways. Then he shows up at 106-1, almost 107-1, and gets second in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial.
Right. And I think that, look, when you're looking at these Derby contenders and you want that profile of who could possibly be a real contender in this race, you do want those horses that are peaking at the right time. And I will say, at least to his credit, he is moving forward at the right time to possibly set him up for a big performance coming up. I don't think he's quite good enough. I think that his Wood Memorial was a nice race from him. I think that he could be a decent horse. I think that there have really always been some sort of expectations with him, entering him in the Withers before he had even broken his maiden. But at the same time, I don't think that you can necessarily throw him into this mix as a serious contender, given what we've seen from some of the more accomplished rivals that he's going to have to face.
Mind That Bird, Giacomo, Rich Strike, they've kind of prevented horses from being outrageous numbers. I feel like this horse has to be over 100-1. He was 106-1 in the prep. I feel like he's probably going to be I would think he's going to probably be one of the longest shots on the board. I guess maybe there's a couple of others, but he feels like he's definitely going to be in contention.
I think so. I think you have to think about what his new connections might be interested in investing in their wagers, since I know that he was also privately purchased by a certain group to be able to get this experience to go into the Kentucky Derby. But I will say, at least of the two Danny Gargan trainees coming into this race at a much, much better price, I'd rather throw him underneath on some exotics than Dornoch. I'd be looking to see what he can do in comparison to a horse that I think is not peaking at the right time. I think he's actually kind of tailing off.
Yeah, I've never was a huge Dornoch guy. I mean, obviously his pedigree is very intriguing and interesting when you're talking about the first Saturday in May, but I was not impressed with his race in Florida, and then his comeback race, which wasn't great either. I think you make a great point. Comparative to their prices, I see what you're saying in terms of Society Man. Is this a horse that you'll be using it all underneath, or are you just saying in theory he's a horse that you could use potentially underneath?
Yeah, I mean, in comparison to his uncoupled stablemate, yes. But in reality, probably not. I don't think much of his chances coming into the Derby. I think that if he is anywhere in those exotics, he would be a surprise to me and many other people as well. I think his odds will reflect that. Cool horse that's really, done better than expected in his last race for sure. But certainly one that I feel I would need to see a little bit more from against some of the top contenders in this year's Derby, at least throughout the prep races, to really be taking his chances seriously going forward.
These mini pods are brought to you by Free Reign Coffee Company. They've been powering the In the Money team throughout the Triple Crown prep season, and the coffee is fantastic. Whether you're looking for whole beans, grounds, or pods, Free Reign give you what you need to get up and get after it. And they've got subscriptions available too, so you never run out. Use our promo code MONEY20 for a 20% discount site-wide over at freereigncoffee.com. $4 million. That's how much original ITM Plus subscribers and contributors have won at the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge over the last 5 years. ITM Plus is the place for our best Kentucky Derby information, including grid picks from the team, trip notes, and specific betting advice. Sign up today at inthemoneypodcast.com/plus.
Well, Sara, while I've got you here, I mean, I don't want to just keep going in circles about 100-1 shot, but we do want to talk about every horse that should be in the gate. Who are you excited about in this Kentucky Derby? Obviously, we got to see the draw. We have to see a couple more rounds of works. But what horses are you gravitating towards for this running of the Kentucky Derby?
I think as of right now, the horse that I'm looking at the most to be a square enough price and to possibly be getting better at the right time is actually Catching Freedom for the Brad Cox barn, a horse that I think will have a little bit more of a tactical running style than a horse like Sierra Leone, who we've seen be that deep closer and has shown that he can at least overcome something a little bit more than Fierceness has in his starts where things haven't totally gone his way. So I think that looking outside who I suspect will be the two favorites, he could be that horse that I think has an opportunity to win this race that isn't going to be as short of a price as those two are.
Very interesting that you mentioned this horse, because I actually had Brad Cox on to talk about Encino, but we also talked about his other two horses. And I'm going to make people go listen to it. There's another YouTube video you can find where he's talking about this horse, but he gives a really good excuse for why Catching Freedom broke so slowly and why he doesn't feel like he'll break so slowly next time. And to your point, if he is more tactical and he is in front of Sierra Leone, he's a horse with a big kick, and I think if he can find himself a little bit more forward, he absolutely has a legitimate chance in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think just where everybody's going to be positioned and just showing that they've been able to deal with some things that aren't totally going to go their way in races in the past and still run their race. I think those are some of the attributes that you really look for when you think about horses that are going to be successful in a 20 horse field.
Sara, we appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.